And finally, new rule, you don't really love America if you hate half the people in it. And also, if you hate a lot of the things that everybody always loved about it. There's an oft-repeated moment in political debates where the moderator says to the two candidates, say something nice about your opponent. Okay, I say the next time we have debates, the moderator needs to frame that question a little differently, as say something about America that you like, because honestly, I don't know why the people who are fighting for this country so hard even want it anymore. Republicans, I'll start with you. I really want to know, what do you like about America? It's not democracy.
Well, democracy could be a video all on its own, and I'll give it a go here in a second, but here's the bare minimum of why I love America. I love America because it's my country. I live here, my family and kid lives here, and so I'm bound by thousands of years of ancestral tradition to love and respect the country you're from and want to see it prosper for me and my kids and my fellow countrymen, and to not be raped and pillaged by the foreigners in our government like it is now. The fact that it was great is the reason it was targeted by the people who are doing the raping and the pillaging. It is my duty to not only openly complain about the problems and the people causing the problems, but to have an intense hatred for them. This country is messed up. It's not unpatriotic to say that. In fact, it's the patriotism that causes me to say that. If a loved one develops a drug problem, do you cease to love them anymore? Of course not. But it breaks your heart every time you see them, and it makes you mad that they've ended up in the situation they're in. And pretending that their affliction hasn't affected them and everything is hunky-dory and business as usual is doing neither of you any good. As far as democracy goes, here's my take on that. Democracy is bad because it's based on the liberal line that we're all unique, special butterflies who are capable of browsing the free and open market of ideas, as if there's even such a thing, and picking those ideas at the peak of freshness, and then we go out and support candidates who will not only support those ideas, but institute them at the state level so that their actions will reflect the interest of the people who got them elected. At best, this is a dumb fantasy that only children and retarded hippies believe in to cope for the fact that most people are retarded sheep and will comply no matter how good or bad a system of government is. It assumes that power functions in a bottom-up way and not a top-down way, which is what we have today. It assumes that a more educated population will make better and better decisions for itself, instead of the obvious truth that education simply makes people into the Borg. Because we don't have a free and honest press, we don't really have freedom of information. We have mass censorship and a government and a media that lies about every single event, past, present, and future. Democracy can't exist in that environment. Public consent is manufactured by our media and our government, and it's not even that hard to do. Just look at COVID. Candidates are chosen and elected by lobbyists through dark money and super PACs, so they can then go on to represent those corporations' interests and desires rather than we the people, supposedly the very essence of democracy. Populist candidates are derided as dangerous autocrats rather than be acknowledged as divining rods for public opinion against our democratically elected elites that we have to suffer with now. Democracy directly contradicts the system our founders established, and for over 100 years, we have been more democratized than ever before. And then we wonder why it's all falling apart. Democracy does not de facto save you from corrupt leadership. It's not an iron wall against tyranny. In fact, we live under the most tyrannical government America has ever had, and it's all done under democratic methods.
You stand with the president who tried to pull off a coup, and a dozen Republican nominees for Senate and governor in this year's midterms say they absolutely will not commit to accepting the results. Elections only count when we win them. That's what America is to you now? That shows more disrespect for the flag than any football player ever could.
Due to a recent strike on my channel on a video that received 30 views, I'm prohibited on commenting on why this is not the case. But suffice it to say that this democracy thing seems pretty fragile to me. It can't even tolerate a Midwest doofus like myself making barely controversial statements about how we now conduct elections in this country. It was the freest and the fairest in all of recorded history, and if you dare to question it, you will be ground into the dirt. Ah, democracy, everybody. Isn't it awesome?
Utah Senator Mike Lee says outright, we're not a democracy. No, not the way you want to run things.
This has been a standard talking point on the right for I don't know how long. When did it become controversial?
This year, at least 27 states have introduced or enacted laws that restrict voting. If you say you love America, don't you also have to love the idea of everyone getting to vote? Don't you have to love the peaceful transfer of power?
If you feel uncomfortable when you hear him say that, it's because it's a lie. The biggest realization during COVID is that 80% of people are stupid beyond saving or reasoning. 54% of Americans, that's 130 million people, can't read beyond a 6th grade level. 40 to 45 million people in America have IQs under 85. Apparently, between 50 and 70% of people don't even have an internal monologue. We have millions of ways to live your life here in America that range from being on the public dole to owning your own business. Even if you manage to have a brain, the simple fact that we can have radically different lives and priorities prevents democracy from ever even having a chance of working. In my recent videos, I keep hammering this point home that liberalism requires us to lie to ourselves and others about the supposed way the world works. But yet we all know people that shouldn't vote. This is beyond obvious. I won't get into voting, but that's beyond obvious too. If you can't follow the extremely child-proof rules and regulations, then maybe it's not for you.
Republicans remind me of the trophy hunters who say they love wildlife. Yeah, then why do you shoot it?
This is just stupid beyond belief. Why do we weed a garden? Why do we work out when it feels uncomfortable? Why do we discipline our kids? Why do we ever go on diets? Because if we don't exercise discipline and self-control and limits, our life in reality spins out of control into something that we don't even recognize anymore. And reality will end up doing the weeding, and it's a horrible thing to live through. And so we proactively avoid it by doing seemingly counterproductive activities.
Republicans used to be the rule of law people and lionize the officers who upheld it. But when rioters stormed the Citadel and symbol of America on January 6th, most Republicans took their side and not the side of the police, over 100 of whom were wounded. Fuck the police. That is the clarion call of the Republican Party now. When did the GOP become NWA?
We're going to be going down a very repetitive road here, so let's set the stage right now. Yes, conservatives used to try and conserve traditions and institutions, but because those same traditions and institutions have been hollowed out by our enemy and worn like a skin suit, we are now forced to view them differently and begin to oppose them. If your church gets a new pastor and completely changes the theology of that church into something totally different, it is not hypocritical of the congregation to have an attitude shift.
And then there's the FBI. Steve Bannon says that the Gestapo. Marjorie Taylor Greene says they should be defunded. Congressman Paul Gosar says we must destroy the FBI. What? The FBI is not American now. FBI agents are so square they yell "for" when they ejaculate. They think matching windbreakers are cool. Their flag pins have flag pins.
I mean, if you can't see how they have been weaponized by the most high-up people in our government to take out Trump and other patriots and actual people that exist in our spheres and to subvert democracy themselves, then there's no hope for you. To ignore the corruption is like walking into the house of a person that died 2 weeks ago and trying to ignore the smell and the rotting corpse in the middle of the living room.
And the military, it used to be in the same category, the bedrock of the super patriot crowd. But Trump began his first campaign by doing something that up till then was unthinkable. He mocked and derided a war hero, a Republican war hero, who'd been shot down, imprisoned, and tortured. And it was not a bridge too far for Republicans. They shrugged and walked across it.
Because that Republican war hero was a rhino war hero who spent the rest of his miserable life working hard to ensure that the American people and Republicans in general never got a candidate that represented them or one that would work for them. He was the one who turned the Steele dossier over to the FBI to be used against Trump by taking it to the FISA courts and wiretapping the president's campaign so Obama and the FBI and the CIA and whoever else could use it to fight Trump. And all of this was used against him to impeach Trump. That's McCain's legacy, playing the victim card to give himself power to stab us in the back over and over and over until this country is now unrecognizable.
As they did when Trump called the Joint Chiefs losers. And our soldiers who died in World War I losers. Ted Cruz calls today's troops pansies, and Republican Senate nominee Blake Masters says our generals are left-wing corporate bozos. That's the patriotic view of our military brass? Maybe that's why Trump said he wished they acted more like the Nazi generals we fought in World War II. Yeah, we won that one, by the way.
You do realize that Trump told his generals to pull out of the war, and they just didn't do it. They ignored him. They lied to him in briefings and refused to cooperate with him, even though his foreign policy has been one of the strongest and most reasonable parts of his whole presidency. I suspect that's why they opposed him in the first place. And they are losers. Milley is a loser. Trump was a stress test that showed exactly how far away from America these people's loyalties actually lay. They hate you, they hate me, and Trump showed that. And as far as the corporate bozos comment is concerned, they are exactly that. The Air Force is now banning the terms mom and dad, as well as outlawing the phrase you guys. You think China's doing that right now? Do you think the German generals would have done that? Of course not. That is something that corporate execs would do, not generals in the military.
So, I ask again, if you don't like democracy, voting, the FBI, the military, and cops, what about America do you like? Oh, I know, the Constitution. That's right. The grand old... Oh, what's that? Congressman Lauren Boebert says what? She says, I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. But it is in the Constitution, and it's another one of those pillars of this country that if you don't believe in it, it makes me wonder why you're fighting so hard for this place at all. And that...
Isn't it crazy that you can get your own show on TV and still be this ignorant about the church and state thing, and not even try to understand the other side of the argument? But I won't get into it. Let's continue.
And that is what's so odd about this time that we're living in. For all the talk about fighting for the soul of America, nobody seems to like it very much. Too many liberals give the impression that to them, America is just a big, ugh. The red, white, and ew. A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of sucking, and unable to change. But we have changed a lot. But again, something like the free market is kind of synonymous with America. And if you don't like it, I don't know how you can say you love this country. You know who loves this country? You know who's not constantly complaining about what happened 200 years ago and who's not obsessed with seeing America through shit-colored glasses? and shaking off the stench of what irredeemable, privileged assholes we are? Immigrants. Ask any of them why they came here, and they will tell you the same thing. Ron DeSantis put me on a plane. But they will also tell you that America, for all that's so shitty about it right now, is still the last best hope. And those people asking for our votes to take it over should remember that.
Immigration is funny because it used to be this conservative talking point. The country can't be that bad because look at all the people that want to come in. And now I'm confused on why so many are even scrambling to come over at all. I think they've been lied to. It's like word went out that America was having a pizza party, and if you can get here, you have the opportunity to get a slice. But now regular people in America can't even get a slice. Is America the place to be when the average person here can't afford a $200 emergency? Is America really the home of the wealthy and rich when everyone is drowning up to their eyeballs in soul-crushing debt? Is California the place you want to come to that can't even provide electricity to its citizens? Or when our cars cost $40,000? Or homes cost $450,000? Where the American dream is dead and unresponsive? These people are coming over on the inertia of a past idea. And you know what? We have 70 million immigrants. I think that's enough for a while. We've had 2 million come in just this year. Since Biden has been in office, almost 5 million people have come across the border. Why is that? Is it because it's a great place to set up shop and make your dreams come true? The free market will reward you for hard work and perseverance? Because our economy is booming? Because our cities have low crime? Because our colleges are cheap to attend? None of the above. It's because if you can wade through the Rio Grande, you get college paid for. You get Medicaid, you get food stamps, you get welfare, you get school lunches, you get the red carpet rolled out for you, and you are treated as a first-class citizen, and you don't even have to go through a 10-year process of becoming a citizen. That's why they come here, the handouts. Because America now operates under this new rule. If you play by the rules, you're a sucker. If you break the rules, you are rewarded. What idiot is going to wait for 10 years and memorize the Bill of Rights and learn English and then go on to receive absolutely nothing when you can just cross over and have the world handed to you? Or what seems like the world when you come from some crap hole in Honduras? But it's not sustainable. Not even immigration is the slam dunk you think it is, Bill. Anyways, that'll do it for this video. If you like the type of content I'm making, consider giving this video a like or maybe subscribing. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.